Hi, Advik. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this podcast. Uh, this is one of the rare
My
times
pleasure.
that I do not know the guest at all. And that, in fact, makes it very beautiful because we'll discover each other's company on camera as this goes forward. So,
Mhm.
the Values Workshop has been running as a storytelling on Facebook and also as a podcast on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, wherever I can share it on Spotify. Um, the idea is to talk about values as we face them in real time, as of today in our daily contemporary existence. Um, when I was thinking, the only thing that I do is I just think of the first question. So today I don't even have the first question clearly in my mind, but I have a thought which I wanted to ask you. At the age that you are in college and you said you are in standard 12th, you like football, you like movies, everything about you is as contemporary as anybody else in your generation. You're doing the same things. What I want to ask you is, in today's generation, when there is so much pressure to be good at everything that you undertake. So if you're part of
Mhm.
academics, your parents and your peers expect you to be very good at academics. Or else, if you're part of some extracurricular activity or dance class or anything, any hobby that you pick up, they expect you to perform very well. The media that we watch, the TV that we see, the reality shows, the the amplifying of success in a certain manner. Do you think, how do you personally take all this pressure? Do you even think about this? What's your point of view?
Well, before 12th, I mean, especially before 12th, this year at least, it was nothing. Like there was no pressure on me. I did not feel. I am still a very like the pressure is still dawning on me now because it was not there earlier. Ever
Okay.
since my childhood, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted. I could read. I could watch books. I could like watch movies. I began like I could do whatever I wanted, and there were no restrictions. There were almost none restrictions attached to anything. So and I had no idea of success because that was just not in my mind. And regarding hobbies, I also have started to write stories, short stories, and it's quite good now. What happened this year, specifically this year, is that I joined 12th, and then uh, as soon as I started 12th, I began to realize that from this point on, my decisions will decide my entire life, academic and even non-academic, because especially in this age, it's such a fragile age because a lot of teenagers around me, a lot of my school friends, even classmates, they have started to drink, to drugs and whatnot, and I do not like that. I do not endorse that. I do not support that at all. But I at the same time I can't stop them either. I've tried. I mean, I can't. The maximum I can do is just tell them no. But I think this lifestyle is very, very, very harmful for teenagers, especially because if you get addicted, there's very little chance of going back to who you were originally, and I do not like that at all. Regarding the pressure thing that you were talking about in the question, I have started to feel a sense of pressure now because when I came here, the first thing we did in 12th, there was a meeting held in school, and our class teacher said, "Okay, this is 12th now, so you have to study every day." And like I mean, normally we are told to study, but it's not like the first session of the year. It started with the word study. That has never happened, and I've never been interested in studies. I study for the heck of it. I do not like studying. I mean, not a lot of people my age do. But it's also that I had not a lot of aspirations in life. There was no, it was, I mean, money was a factor. Sure, I wanted to make money, but in the end, it was like I want to live my life in my own ways, and my parents are also supportive of that. I'm allowed to do whatever I want in my future. It's just that they've told me to put in my 100%, which I've not been doing. So I've started now to try to put a little bit more effort in myself and started to read about things that I like, and try to decide what my future holds for me, because I think the decision is in my hands regarding whatever my future brings.
Okay. Um, it's interesting that you would say this. It takes me many years back to my schooling and college days. Even after taking a decision, I did my engineering. I did worked as a data entry operator in a bad software programmer for a little while. The software that I made collapsed, and everybody was quite not too happy about it. But I never liked the field. My brother is an engineer and a successful engineer at that, and he has that engineering bent of mine. I was a creative person, but when I was growing up, I didn't know the options that were available to me. So over a period, I shifted to advertising and became a writer. But the reason why I'm giving you this background is while you are taking the pressure that you are, which is good for a little while, I think a little bit of pressure cooker thinking works, especially during situations where your exams are on hand or uh, it is the requirement of the hour. It's like those last few overs in a,
Mhm.
or maybe last few minutes in a football match. Uh, you got to be even more aware and alert of the fact that a goal here and there could actually change the outcome of the match. So no matter if you're leading 5-3 and suddenly there are two goals in 2 minutes, then you are really not uh, as comfortable as you were earlier. So I agree with that point of view. But what I do want to tell you and your friends at this point of time, no matter what the decision you are taking or you have taken, life is not really a linear path. At every point, being a human being is, in a way, a sort of potential. And you realize that potential by making it quote unquote real, as in when you go along, when you, the import of the knowledge that you have comes to you. So, my question on day one, when they told you to study, what was your mindset? Did you think it was a kind of pressure being put on you, or did you think like, what is this now? Why are these guys making such a huge hue and cry about something which is have been okay so far? Like you did live up to 12th, no? And you must have been a reasonably decent student because the way you're talking confidently, I think you must have not been among the absolute failures or the toppers, but yeah, average or a little above average. So how did you see that day and when the pressure was put on you?
Well, I mean, I'm usually not put in pressure situations, and it has just started in high school all of a sudden. So that day I was a little bit worried, but in the end I thought that if I study, I'll do well. So, and I've definitely done better in 12th till now than what is compared to 11th and the rest of my academic years. So that was nice. And he said study. He said specifically to us to study, and here from here on you decide your life. From here on you should take your decisions carefully and just focus on studying specifically. And then I think I don't quite remember this, but I think he said leave your devices as well, as in don't spend too much time on phones or laptops or televisions, and all of the things he said, it did make sense to me, but it was quite um I think I can't find the right word for this, but it was quite
Impractical?
weird. Sorry.
Impractical? Was it impractical?
Not impractical, no, it was practical. It was practical because it is 12th, and in the end he's trying to do better. He's trying to encourage us to
Yeah.
do better, and it's his job, so it is practical. It's just that it was quite unexpected. Yeah, quite unexpected, because the starting of the academic year, the first minute of the first session, just studying is not the word. And I think the first sentence was, "You're in 12th now." So this it was like a certificate being given that congratulations, you're in 12th. This is your requirement. It's like you're in a job now. So this is your
Yeah.
job requirement. You need to do this. And if you do this, you'll succeed. If you don't do this, you'll be a failure. that was the mindset I think he was going for, and it was unexpected. That's what I can say.
Mm, so, to play the devil's advocate, also coming from a creative background myself, um, I do not give academics more emphasis than is required beyond the point, because the idea is that it is one more aspect of our personality that it is helping hone. There's a certain sense of knowledge being given to us in a very structured kind of way. But how do you see your life when you're not looking at it from the academic point of view alone? Uh, are there any other spaces in your mind which are not colored by this academic aspect? Friendships, relationships. Yeah, earlier you talked about
Um,
your friends are going through dynamic changes. Good or bad is a different story. Of course, that's a separate topic by itself. They are going through a lot of dynamic changes, and it is something that is important to you, and you are not very happy about it. So, do you want to talk a little about that mind space and how and what is
yeah.
really happening?
So what happened was basically I had joined 12th and I was in international earlier, international board, and then I shifted to ICSE, ISC in from 10th to 11th. I shifted there, and I've met a lot of people here, and I found them generally warmer to me, than more accepting at least, than in international. And I think one of the aspects of that was that I was in humanities now, so it's an arts background, so definitely there's a lot of creative people you meet here. And I came here and I was quite accepted, and I'd say I made a couple of classmates. I talked to a couple of them, and then I realized later on, I found out that they were drinking, and it was not something that I had not expected, because at this age, it's almost
A common thing.
uh, yeah, it's very common now. It's surprising how common it is now. And I've always stayed away from drugs or smoking. I hate all of that. And I found out that some of the classmates were doing that, and I basically just stayed away from them. And most of my friends right now in this class, I mean, I did talk to them obviously because they were in the same class, but I decided to choose my friends in a certain way that they if I go with them, I do not get in trouble, because I realized if I play someone who is if I become, say, a judge or a benefactor for them, or like, or for the people who are drinking and indulging in all those vices, if I become someone who tells them you should not do this, you should, they won't listen naturally. And I mean, also, who am I to say and decide what they do in their life? It's their life after all. So in the end, I was just like, okay, I'll stay away from these people who are. I had a close friend in 12th. I still talk. It's not like I don't talk to her. We still talk. But I found out that it's also, this age is also the age when you go through a lot of mood swings, and there's a lot of I think identity crisis. And there's this stage in a theory I had read in my textbook in psychology. Jean Piaget's five stages, and in the fifth stage was identity versus role confusion. So role that happens at this age, specifically teenagers. Role confusion and identity is basically when you try to go and find who you are yourself, and you go on this journey where you take in different perspectives, you stick to certain values, you decide your own values and your own morals, because before this your morals are given to you by your parents. At this age you decide your own, you make a lot of your own decisions, and even after going to college you make even more of your own decisions. So in this age you're trying to identify who you are, and that's what with my friend was. She was trying to identify who she was. And while doing this, as teenagers, we often indulge, as I said, in a lot of vices. We try to take on different highs, and we try to see what builds up our adrenaline, what gets us going. So obviously they drink, smoke, as I said earlier. And this girl, friend of mine, she did not do any of that, but she was, I think, a little hyperactive. I'd say I still call her that, hyperactive. And I then realized that there are people who are extremely hyper. I am quite active myself, and I obviously voice out my own opinions, but I try to make sure that the other person is not uncomfortable by this. At least I try to do that, and I tell them if I'm hurting you in any way, if my opinions are differing from yours in any way, I am really sorry. I do not intend to hurt you. But the friend of mine was quite unfiltered, and I did not like that. So I am trying to stay away from her right now. So like that, I met a couple of people in 12th and 11th who were not really somebody I'd like to be friends with. It's not that they were bad, because again, in international, I was bullied by people, but it was nothing. I mean, it was natural. Like I found it like it was just some banter in international. Did not happen in ISC. But I find that those people back in international, they were just, I don't know how to put this, but now that I look back, I'm not sure what they were. I won't call them bad people in general, because what they did was they created this environment. And when you're in an environment with people who are thinking in a certain way, who I'd say who are brought up in a certain way, and they're brought in this. For example, the first day whenever a new student came, this new student came and he was quite. I talked to him. He seemed quite nice, right? Quite genuine and quite nice. But then he came to this environment in international that where a lot of people were quite rowdy, and I won't call rowdy. I mean, they weren't completely rowdy, but they were engaging in banter basically. I, I think the perfect phrase for this is like boys will be boys. So they were just being boys. I don't have a problem with that, but it's just that that person, he immediately changed when he came to this environment. Earlier, he was quite friendly to me, talked quite nicely, but then he came to this environment with these people around him, and then his entire attitude changed. His way of speaking changed in when he was in that environment. His way of speaking changed. His way of speaking to me changed. His way of speaking to others changed, and it was very, again, interesting to see this, that when you're put in a certain environment, how you act around people. And then again, I would say it's peer pressure as well, because you feel that you need to fit in and you need to survive in international, when I was in international. And I think it's all dependent on the environment. Again, that brings me back to drugs and what drinking and whatnot vices. I think some of the people in my class, I don't think they want to do all of this, but it's the way that it is advertised to them. It is the way the media is showing it, the way their peers are telling them, "Arey, ek hi to joint hai, maar lena. It's just one shot. Come on, try it. Your life won't end if you try this once." That is not right. That is not right. It can lead to addiction, right? So I think it's depends on the environment and how it is shown to you. Like today, if you look at films, right? Earlier films were not explicit. They weren't. They if they were, they showed that sign, like, smoking is injurious to health, and there were not a lot of scenes which involved smoking or fighting or blood or gore. Today, that filter has been lifted almost in OTT platforms, and the people are seeing that, and they're seeing. I think one example for this would be Kabir Singh, where he was shown as this man who drinks and who's this cool person, and that movie had an age limit. But then it came to OTT platforms, right? And all of a sudden, people began watching that, and they felt, "Arey, he's so cool. He's drinking. This dude is so cool. He's a doctor, and yet he's drinking. He's being a rebel." Again, teenagers, rebels, right? They're
Yeah,
trying to go against society to try to find themselves.
yeah, yeah,
So again, it was quite interesting to me. Then the people obviously in my class, they felt, and Kabir Singh is like a cult film for it's a classic by this point
yeah,
for
yeah.
teenagers. uh, and I think that's the reason why they've started. A lot of them have started drinking, smoking again, because of the environment, because of the way it's endorsed to them today. and I do not support that at all.